stated that the 4 pillars of learning of UNESCO, as postulated by UNESCO, seem to me quite not relevant to the context of our own needs now, because we must be moving from another dimension, and that dimension, that pillar is the pillar of learning how to learn and learning to keep on learning. This is the challenge that the Malaysians face with now, in order to ensure that there is a continuous process of learning taking place. Just now I was, our friend here told me that with due respect my age, yes, I'm already 68, but I never stopped learning. And, anyway, let me indicate to you through my experience at the university. I teach graduate students, and at that graduate level, I never recognize examinations. I recognize examination as only up to 40%, and 60% is coursework. And coursework will be evaluated, and for me, my own personal experience is I have to look at the papers, even correct whatever mistakes that I could identify and whatever improvement I could make with respect to the papers. So this is a challenge that many of us have to face, because sometimes you are faced with about 60, 70 graduate students doing their masters. And you can imagine the amount of time and, having to really pop your eyes out in order to ensure that the papers are well examined and marked, and every little mistake, because it is a process of learning. It is the learning of the intellectual experience that a person has to undergo for the person to move ahead, whether he wants to get a master's or a PhD. And much worse is at a PhD level. It is a process of intellectual development, a training of the intellectual mind, no longer the training of examination and tests and assessment. So this is the challenge. We have been cultured into the system of examination, so much so that yesterday my own son was telling me that he was directing his daughter to go home. We have got to go back quickly now, because tomorrow you have an examination, and the daughter is only standard 2. I said, no, don't say that. I said, this is only, what is happening is a test. The test is being tested, what level he or she will achieve. It's not an examination. And the impact of the word examination into our system, because it discriminates people. This is where the examination becomes a powerful tool to discriminate individuals and people. So the important thing is for us to be sure that the formative evaluation system must be put in place in our professional practice in schools. It must be put in place, and we have got to really acquire the skills. Frankly, my own experience in looking at some of the Californian schools, I was there for several years, and I had the opportunity to examine, to look, and to study with the American students, and with American teachers, and how they really progress, how they really assess. They do not examine, the way that we do. We discriminate students simply because failures of examination are being discriminated against. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, just share something with you what is presently developing in Singapore, where assessment as system is concerned. They introduce community work of 60 hours, where students are required to perform for each form of the students. In addition to that, each form of the students are required to sit for 50% project work as part of the assessment, and then another 50% come from the school-based assessment. Now, these are examples of the system set at the institutional level. And we would like to see some sharing from Mr. Renu now, how, in terms of English language teaching, he make use of assessment as a tool to facilitate students' learning interest, as well as sharing, as well as in the grouping of students. Thank you.
Thank you. You see, when we are doing what you call like language teaching methodology in Utah, and also in my psycholinguistic classes, we have tried a lot of things, and then one of the things that worked, this is actually a personal experience, worked was, we studied our teaching plan, the learning outcomes, and then asked the students to give their input as to what they understood by the learning outcome, not what we think they should learn. And the students came out with very interesting ideas, so modified the learning outcomes. And then I asked them, how do you like to be assessed? They say, you can give us a test. They want a test. But they wanted a multiple choice test. I say, it's not easy. But anyway, I had a multiple choice test. I gave it to them. And many of them, after the 6 weeks of work, they were able to answer the question. I said, that is only one aspect. What else how else can I assess you? Take us to classroom participation. We want to talk on the topics that you have taught. That means they were preparing mini lectures and presenting to their peers. And it worked fine because I was doing just an experiment for 6 weeks. And later on when I said, do you know what approach you are using to teach yourself psycholinguistic? Because they have done a little bit of constructivism. They say, we are constructivists in class. I say, objective achieved. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and it's really called students' participation, and that is the active assessment style. Ladies and gentlemen, now come the most interesting hour, where you are going to have Q&A together with the panelists. You are welcome to ask questions where of your concern, to extend your thoughts and even provide alternatives for today's topic. Now, in the first round of forum, we allow 5 questions. Please raise your hands. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are the instructor in the classroom. We are model by example. And we are the active learners here, right? This is a community work. This is a community platform.
Panel members, I was just wondering, I mean, that for all the teachers can prepare, what if the students themselves are not prepared to learn? I mean, in my experience, as much as we try to push for the students to do self-directed learning, for them to become intrinsically motivated, at the end of the day, they will still ask for handouts. So, how? Thank you.
My name is Soraida from College Professional Mara Branang. Okay, my question is somewhat related to the first question. Because we are teaching at diploma level, but the students are not really motivated. So how do we use the andrology approach to assess the students? Because they would rather be spoon-fed, and at the same time, we as teachers are being assessed based on the students' performance. So we also want to spoon-feed to make sure that they get good results.
Yeah, students face anxiety, right? So how to engage students with learning from a teacher's point of view? Yes, the third questions?
Bakar has mentioned that a lot of the teachers come to teaching job really not knowing how to teach. But the way the system in Malaysia is right now is unless you have research papers, you don't get the promotion. While those teachers who put their time and energy and education and interest to become excellent teachers don't get the same salary level or promotion. So the academic talk like this as one thing, but in real life it's a different thing. Can you address that later? Thanks.
Yeah, very good question. Or rather, this is more on paper and external imposition. The fourth questions, yes.
Question based more on the first two. We talked about, or you talked about, the Western style of teaching, like the American school system. How we can implement Western teaching styles, which is more interactive, which is more students-based in Malaysian or Asian cultures, because what we discussed before, it's really difficult from a teacher-central move to a student-central teaching style.
So questions how to solve the problem, to switch from the teacher-centered to student-centered.
Yeah, like how to implement Western styles
in practice, right? How to do it as an art. So he's asking from the art of state. Huh?
My question is, it's wonderful that you have a lot of different teaching skills to help the students to prepare them for the working environment or the working world. Right, my question is, how are the teachers or the lecturers being prepared to answer questions about the real world that they are going into? Are they have them be given the opportunity to go to the corporate and experience the real world in order to share effectively to the students? Thank you.
Very good questions that wind up all my questions just now. How we could get the certification of industry and professional that in line with professional training of lecturers in the higher education institutions. And the question is how to make knowledge of life relevance and global relevance. It's a very good question.